Hello dear student, welcome on this video lecture and let's proceed with this magnetic force on a moving charge. And regarding to that concept, there is example we are starting with, and that example is there is a positive charge. So charge is a positive and that is a Q and its mass is given to us. It enters in a uniform magnetic field. So magnetic field is also uniform and it moves with the velocity v as shown in the figure. So this is the figure that has been shown there, and there is no magnetic field on the left of PQ line. So there is a zero magnetic field, no magnetic field. Magnetic field is only on this zone. Then we need to find following questions. So all these questions are dependent on this force, what is going to happen, what the force is going to act on this particle. Now if there is no magnetic field, then we know as per the Newton's law it should move like this in a straight line undeviated, but it's not going to move in that fashion because of a force acting due to the presence of magnetic field, and that force, that force is defined as F is equal to QV cross B. So first of all we are going to talk about what the path it is going to make and then in which sense it is going to be. So you see the magnetic field is into the plane and V is on the plane, so this is the direction of V and B is inside. So theta, the angle that we are looking for to decide which type of path it is going to move on. So theta, the angle between V and B is going to be 90 degree. Since theta is came out to be 90 degree, then we can claim the path is going to be circle. So it's going to move on a circular path. So it's not going to move on a straight line like this, rather it's going to move on a circular path. Now if it is entering like this v velocity, so there can be two circles that it can form, one in this sense, another in this sense. So we need to see which one. So that will be decided by taking the direction of this force. So if we talk about the direction of this force, it's going to be V cross B. V is in this direction, B is inside. So if you find the cross product will give a force at the entrance in this direction. So this will deviate the particle from the straight line in this manner, and then it will be coming outside from that part. So entire this is the deviation I am showing, and then you can see the entire picture has been shown in the second figure. So it will be entering with velocity v and that angle is theta given to us. So it will be moving on this magnetic field portion on a circular path, and when it crosses this PQ again, then the force will stop working, then it will be moving on a straight line then after. So the path is going to be a straight line first, and then this arc of a circle, and then finally a straight line. Okay, now we can come to the questions. First question is to find time spent. That means it's asking for how much time it is going to spend inside. Now we know this speed remains constant, so whatever the v value is going to be constant over this journey in the magnetic field, because the magnitude remains constant, and velocity, for velocity the direction has been shown how that direction is changing. Now this theta was given to us, so we can say when it is entering, so this force acts toward the center. So that means the force is going to be acting in like this. So this is going to be center, so C is the center. When it will be returning back, then again at 90 degree you will find center will be lying. So now if this angle is theta, then we can think of what the total angle it is going to be formed at the center. Now so you can think of this is going to be 90 degree, and so this inside angle is going to be this angle is going to be 90 minus theta, and since this angle is 90, then you'll find this half angle is going to be theta. Similarly second half is also going to be theta, so total angle will become 2 theta. That means this arc makes twice theta angle at the center if it enters at angle theta, right? And we know if it completes the entire circle, then the time period is given by, so we can solve like this. Since we know time period is given by 2 pi m upon qb, that's the formula, and we are looking for the time spent. So we will say how much the time it is going to spend. So t is the total time. Since it's a uniform circular motion, so we can say the time is proportional to the angle it forms. So t divided by 2 pi, that's per radian angle time spent, and it is spending for 2 theta time radians. So it's going to be into 2 theta. Theta has to be measured in radians. Now we can put the value of t upon 2 pi from here, so it will become twice m theta divided by qb. So that will become our answer for the time spent by the particle in the magnetic field zone. So how we have got this answer? Because we know this total time for one revolution is this. So for 2 theta angle, how much is going to be this? So we can use the proportionality relationship. Now then we can go for the question number 2, which says distance traveled in the magnetic field. So now we are looking for what the distance it is going to move. That means A to D, this actual path length we need to find out. Now since this is a circle, so for circle actual path length is basically the arc length. So we can say the distance is going to be equal to arc length. And we know this arc length is going to be equal to radius into the angle it takes, and the total angle it is forming is 2 theta, so r into 2 theta. And we know for the circle radius is given by mv upon qb. All letters are given to us, so in those terms we can get this distance covered as twice theta, that's radian angle, into mv upon qb. Making sense? So this is how we can find what the distance traveled is. If it is asking for what the displacement is, so we can measure this length directly from A to D, and that's going to be 2 that can be measured, right? So that can be measured as a 2 r sin theta, because half is going to be r sin theta, then r sin theta becomes 2 r sin theta. So we can find distance, we can find displacement, we can also find time spent, we can find the speed, velocity, or whatever is required. And the next part is asking about the impulse of magnetic force. So this magnetic force that we have talked about, what the impulse it is going to give us. So we know impulse is going to be equal to, let's write impulse as per the impulse theorem, is equal to change in momentum. So change in momentum is basically going to be m into change in velocity. So if we are able to find what the velocity change is, that's going to give us the change in momentum. Now how we can get the velocity change? Initial velocity is given like this, final velocity is given like this. You can also see the final velocity has this is making angle theta. So if we do the component of final velocity is going to be v cos theta in the upward direction and v sin theta in the horizontal direction. Similarly, we can make the component of initial velocity. One is this, another is this. Now if this angle is theta, you can find this angle is going to be theta, so this will become v cos theta, and horizontally it's going to be v sin theta. Now you can think of this vertical component is not changing, whereas this horizontal component of velocity is changing. So change in velocity will be in the horizontal direction, final minus initial, so we can write it as directly minus twice m v sin theta I cap. So minus I cap is the direction, 2mv sin theta is the magnitude. So we can find what the impulse the magnetic force is going to give, even though there is no change in speed, right? So this is basically part of the circular motion that we need to deal, and that's quite important for the examination point of view. So what to do? We need to remember this formula, the formula that decides the force acting, and then using this cross product vector information need to find what the direction of force is. And if the magnetic field is uniform and angle is 90 degree, then it's going to be on circular path. So radius formula, time period formula, they are all important, and this equation that you have already learned is being used over here. Okay, now let's move ahead. Next point is Lorentz force. So let's talk about what the Lorentz force is and how we are going to use it. So it says if there's a charged particle, let's say this charged particle is moving, having velocity v. I'm not showing the direction, it can be moving in any of the direction with velocity v. And where it is moving, there is a presence of magnetic field. So this is what we have understood just now, that if there is a charge moving in a magnetic field, then it experiences a magnetic force. And let's say there is also electric field existing in that region. So both electric field and magnetic field both are simultaneously existing, and this charged particle having a velocity. So you will find this charged particle is going to experience a magnetic force because of magnetic field, and it's going to experience an electric force because of presence of electric field. So what the net force it is going to experience, I can write them together. We can say this force is going to be because of magnetic field as well as because of electric field. Now, what is because of magnetic field and what is because of electric field? That's what we have understood and we know them. So force because of the magnetic field is going to be equal to Q V cross B. So cross product of velocity and magnetic field with Q multiplication will give us the magnetic force. And force because of electrostatic is quite simple, it's Q into E. So this is going to be the force acting on this particle in totality, and then you'll find this is going to be this can be written as, we can take this Q outside and we can write this E first if we want, so it can be written as E plus V cross B. That's a cross product. So this is an important force that is counting both magnetic field as well as electric field's presence. This force is known as Lorentz force. So Lorentz force is basically force acting on a charged particle when it is moving in presence of both electric field as well as magnetic field. Right, so this force is going to decide ultimately where the particle is going to go, depending upon what is the field direction of E and what it is magnitude. Similarly, it will also depend on the V as well as B, so there we can place a bracket as well, and their cross product and their magnitudes and their angle between, you know, all that thing. And also it will depend on the Q, its sign and its magnitude, right? So this kind of force which is coming because of both the fields is known as Lorentz force, and we can use this Lorentz force to solve the questions whenever we will find this kind of situation in which both the fields are simultaneously present. Now, what the final direction of this is going to be, what the final magnitude of force is going to be, it will all depend on these vectors. So it's a summation of two vectors, whereas the second vector is coming by multiplication in a cross fashion of two vectors. Make sense? So this is the force. Now let's consider a few cases to solve using this Lorentz force. So there is a case 1 that is being indicated over here. And in this case we are assuming that V, E and B all are going to be collinear. So if all are collinear, that means they are in the same line. And this is a picture. This is the direction of E, this is the direction of B, this is the direction of V. So we need to see how the force is going to act and what will be the path of that particle. So if they are collinear, then you will say this V cross B, the cross product of two parallel vectors is 0. That's a null vector. That means this part will be 0. And you will find the net force that is going to act on this, or you can say Lorentz force, is going to be simply Q into E. And we know this force is going to be in the direction of field, and the field direction is in the forward, so it will going to have a forward force. Hence you will get a forward acceleration. And we can find what this acceleration is going to be. This acceleration is going to be F by M, which is simply QE divided by M in the direction of velocity, if they are in the same direction. Now if E is a uniform, then you'll find this a constant case, constant acceleration case, or if E is a variable, then you will get a variable acceleration case. But in either case, it's going to be on a straight line, so that's going to be one-dimensional motion. So it will be resulting into 1D motion, and whenever we get a 1D motion, that's a basically straight line motion. So we can solve it to find out what the future velocity is going to be, future acceleration is going to be, position is going to be. That means all the parts of kinematics we can do, because it's moving on a straight line. And we need to check simply whether this A is a constant or not. If it is a constant, then we can go for V is equal to U plus AT. That means simple equations. Otherwise we can use the derivative or basic definitions to solve this kinematic problem. Right? So whenever it says all the three vectors are collinear or are in the same direction, so we can go for this, and our answer will be the path is going to be straight line in case of Lorentz force. Now in case number 2, we can consider that this E and B, both the fields are parallel to each other, and they are uniform, both are uniform. And we are considering that the angle is neither 0 nor 180. When we say angle, that means the angle between V and B. So these fields are constant and uniform, that we are considering. So this type of questions are also very popular. So what we need to do, here is the picture, we can start looking at this. This is the primary picture that is trying to explain that the positive charge Q has been given velocity V0 at an angle theta from the direction of E and B, and E and B both are uniform in the direction of X as shown in the figure. So we can use the coordinate system. This is a coordinate system, x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, and that's the initial situation, and we can think of that the particle starts from the origin. So let it start from the origin, and then we need to know how the path of the particle is going to be and what the forces it is going to be subjected with. So we have talked about if there's an angle theta which is neither 0 or nor 180 nor 90, then you'll find that we can make the two component of this velocity. So here the two components of velocity have been made, one along the horizontal direction, another on the vertical direction, and the values are written over there, so you can see from here. So these two will influence this, there will be force because of this magnetic field, and this electric field is also going to apply a force. So we can say force in different directions. So let's say try to understand what happens to this x component. So we can think of x component of motion. If we think about x component, then you'll find there's going to be force in the x direction. We can call it as fx. It's going to be simply q into e, because you'll find that force because of magnetic field is going to be along the z direction, because this vector of velocity and this b is going to undergo cross product. This component of velocity will not have any force because of magnetic field, because it's a parallel to magnetic field. So in the x direction you will find this is going to be the force. So we can get what the acceleration in the x direction is going to be. This is simply going to be q e divided by the mass. And if it is released from rest, or maybe something like it will say that it is being released, so initial velocity is 0. So initial velocity is 0. This is what we are assuming, and mostly you will be given an initial velocity 0. That means you will say that the charged particle is initially at rest, and then you can find the velocity at any time on the direction of x. So velocity component in the x direction is going to be, because this is a uniform, so it's a constant acceleration, so u plus at, that is ax into t. If initial velocity is given to us, you can use that velocity as well. Moreover, you can also find the x displacement of the particle or x coordinate of the particle at any time is going to be ut, which is 0, plus half ax into t square. So I'm writing 0 for ux, otherwise you can use this ut plus half at square for x direction. That means in x direction we can find the position, velocity, and all that. Now what happened to the y direction and z direction? So y and z, so this has been shown y component and this z. So yz plane has been shown over there. So that's a yz plane. So if you look at the yz plane, what happens? It's going to move on a circle, because in yz plane you will find it's going to be moved on a circle because of magnetic force, and that force we can find out how much the force is going to be, and we know that force is going to be F is equal to, that's going to be in xz plane, and that force is going to be Q V0 B sin theta, so that's going to be the force acting in xy, this yz plane, and that picture has been shown over here. So let's say the particle is at this particular location, so the velocity will be tangentially, and which velocity component it is basically V0 sin theta. So V0 sin theta is going to be moved like this. Now if we want to write this velocity, we can make the component along the x direction, along the y direction as well. So that's the z direction and y direction. We can make the two components. Moreover, it has been made after t time, so since it's moving with angular velocity omega, so the angle it is going to form is going to be beta, and beta is going to be omega into t. Once we got this angle, so we can make the component, or we can find the coordinate of this point. This is going to be the z coordinate, and this is going to be the y coordinate. Now you can see, in case I want to write this y, so can we write this y, that this coordinate of y of the particle is going to be r sine beta, and beta is omega t, so we can write it as r, which is given sine omega t. Now what the r is the radius of that helical path. Because of this, so we know what the radius is going to be, so we can use that radius as m v0 sine theta, because this is the component that is responsible, divided by qb. So that's the radius, and once we know the radius, we can find out y coordinate at any instant of time. Simply we can find the z coordinate, and what that z coordinate is going to be. Total is r, that's going to be r sine beta, cos beta, so it's going to be r1 minus cos beta. And again beta is omega t, so we can write it as r1 minus cos omega t. That means we are able to find the x coordinate at any location or at any time, and we are able to find y coordinate as well as z coordinate. That means we can know the position. So in yz plane is going to move on a circle, whereas the center of this point is going to move on the x-axis. So the center is moving on the x-axis and the particle is moving on a circle. So if you look at the entire figure, it's going to be moving like this, as shown in this figure. So it's going to be moving like this. It's going to be some sort of helical, but its pitch is increasing. So this pitch is this is different than this thing. So as it goes forward, its pitch is increasing. So it's not having a uniform pitch because of the acceleration coming in the x direction, and this acceleration is coming because of the field, electric field. So if there was no electric field, then that was the case that we have earlier done. In that case, the pitch was uniform, and that is because this has a zero initial velocity. Okay, in this case, initial velocity is going to be v naught cos theta. So let me make that correction, because initial velocity is given to us. So a small correction let me quickly make over here. I missed this point. This v naught cos theta is going to behave like initial velocity. So that correction I am making over here. So it's going to be basically change. There will be certain change on this initial calculation. It's going to be v naught cos theta. So this v naught cos theta is going to behave like initial velocity. Okay, so you will find this x component of velocity will also be rewritten differently. So I'm rewriting it, and you know the rules, so that's not a big deal to incorporate that correction. And it should be v naught cos theta. So that's a u plus at ax into t. So that will be the expression for x component of velocity. Similarly, the correction for this position is going to be there, and that correction will be equal to x is equal to v naught cos theta, that's the initial velocity, plus half ax t square. So initial velocity was not given to you as separately. It was basically comparing the component of this, so that has to be taken care of, which I missed. So here the correction has come in. So this is going to behave like initial velocity, and this velocity is going to move on a circle, or this will cause the particle to move on circle because of magnetic field. And since there is acceleration, then you'll find x coordinate is not moving directly proportional to t, rather it's going to t square. Hence the pitch is changing, right? So pitch is rather increasing. So you might be asked a question, what happens to the pitch? Is it a constant? You say no. First it is a small value, that's in one time period p1. Next pitch is going to be in second time period, that's a p2, and next is going to be in next time period, that's going to be p3, and all are going to be different. Right? And what can be a chance of a question that find the p1, the first pitch. So first pitch is going to be the distance covered by the particle along the direction of that magnetic field during one time period. Now this, since this is r, so similarly this t is going to be there. T is going to be 2 pi m upon qb. So time period is remaining constant, you can see. So this time period is a constant, and in this time whatever the x coordinate is it is traveling, that becomes the pitch. So p1 is going to be x for this time, that means it's going to be v naught cos theta, that's initial velocity, into time t, plus half ax, which we have already calculated, into t square. So this is how we can calculate the pitch during the first time duration or time interval or time period. If it is asking for the second time interval or second time period, you know the kinematics. You just find the velocity, initial velocity after one time period, and then use the x is equal to ut plus half at square, and you can find this for the next time duration or time period. So here, when they were parallel and theta was not 90 or 180 or 0, so x component can be solved separately, and yz plane can be solved simultaneously. In yz plane is going to have a circular motion, whereas in x plane is going to be, or x-axis is going to be straight line. So it's a combination of straight line and circular motion, but it's not a regular helix, rather it's going to be a helical path of increasing pitch. So that's the second case. Let's go for the third. So in third case, V, E and B are mutually perpendicular. So we are considering V, E and B are mutually perpendicular. And in that mutual perpendicular case, very special case we are considering, which is shown over on this figure. So if we consider the magnetic field, let's say in the direction of Z axis, and electric field in the direction of Y axis as shown over here, and particle is moving in the direction of X axis. So velocity is along the X direction and the two fields are perpendicular, then you can see they are mutually perpendicular to each other. Okay, and in this particular case, now in mutually perpendicular directions, this is a particular special case that we are considering. Now if this charge particle is positive, we are considering the charge particle to be positive, so Q is a positive. And then you'll find the force because of electrostatic going to be in the direction of field, so that's the direction of field, so force is going to be in the direction of field. And the magnetic force is going to be a Q V cross B, so total Lorentz force you can write F is equal to Q E plus V cross B. V cross B. Now if we do the V cross B, V is in the direction of X and B is in the direction of Z, then V cross B, that's I cross K, is going to be in the direction of minus Z. So the force because of magnetic field is going to be acting downwards like this. So you'll find that the force because of field, electric field and magnetic field, they are going to be in the opposite direction. Right, so if we consider these two forces, which are because of magnetic field and which is another because of electric field, so they are going to be equal, they are going to be opposite, at least opposite, right, in this particular situation. Now in that case, if we consider the case in which they becomes equal, so you'll find they are going to have the same magnitude, and if they are equal and opposite, then we can say this, if this becomes zero. So what happens if the Lorentz force becomes zero? So this is equal to zero vector. That means both the forces are having equal magnitude and opposite directions. In that case, you'll find net force is zero, hence acceleration is going to be zero. Then you'll find acceleration will become zero, which will simply imply that the particle is not going to accelerate, neither it's going to deviate, rather it's going to move on a straight line. So in presence of both the field, the particle can move on a straight line if this entire Lorentz force becomes zero, and that will be zero in the case when all the three are mutually perpendicular. Alright, and this is going to be giving us a straight line path, and that with uniform motion. That means velocity is also not changing. Okay, and for that to happen, you'll find E must be equal to minus V cross B. So this should be the case or relation for this to happen. That means electric field must be in the direction V cross B is opposite. So from here we can talk about the direction, as well as we can also talk about the magnitude. If we take the magnitude both sides, then you're going to get VB sine theta. Theta is the angle between V and B, which is 90 degree in this case. So from here we are going to say E is going to be V into B. That means from here we can calculate the velocity or the speed with which the particle has to be thrown in this particular situation so that it moves undeviated. So in these kind of fields, directions, if we throw the particle with a velocity E by B, then you will find the particle will be moving in the straight line and its velocity will not change. That means it will be moving undeviated with uniform velocity. So that result becomes important. So the question will be asking, find the value of speed or velocity in presence of electric field and magnetic field so that it moves undeviated. That means it must be E by B. And what will be the direction? From this equation you can ascertain the direction of magnetic this velocity if the direction of electric field and magnetic field is given, or otherwise if the two direction is given, third direction can always be identified from this expression. So that's the third case. So in Lorentz force we have considered these three cases, one they are collinear, next any angle between B and V, and keeping E and B parallel, and this third case was all the three mutually perpendicular. Right, so make your notes, go through. These types of questions are popular to the examination. So in this video we will keep up to this point only, and in the next video we will be moving forward. So that's all. Thank you for watching. Have a great time.